Hi everyone, it's Laura here for Studio Katia, and in today's video I'm going to share with you how to create a winter shaker card using the Merry Poinsettia and Holiday Village stamp sets. I started by die cutting some watercolor cardstock using the Darling Ribbon and Frames dies. I have the background of my shaker. I have the shaker front that I die cut with that same rectangle die and this beautiful die here. From the die cut that I obtained from the window, I also created a hue using the Simple Borders dies by Studio Katia, and I was left with this other die cut that I'll use for another project. To create some shading on my hue, I used the Spectrum Noir Midas Silver Pigment ink. This is a metallic ink that will add a very nice and shiny touch to my card, and I'm just adding it to the bottom of this die cut to create some shading and dimension. These inks can be used for ink blending and for stamping too, and you will see later on that I'll use them for my sentiment as well. Next, for the background of my shaker, I decided to use this rose gold pigment ink. This is also by Spectrum Noir and it's really gorgeous. I'm going to fill the entire area behind the shaker window because this panel, as I said, is the background of my shaker. And then I decided to add a little bit of pink lace on top as well to brighten up the color a little bit more. I coated the back of my shaker front with some acetate and I also added a double layer of Scotch foam tape so that I have enough dimension for my sequins to move inside my shaker. And then I filled my shaker with a mix of confetti, sequins and glitter. I used crystal clear confetti, majestic confetti, silver polka sequins, and then I also added some frost glitter and some sparkle glitter. The frost glitter is pretty chunky, but the sparkle glitter is very fine, so it is important that you don't have any gaps in your foam tape at the front of your shaker. You could also use some craft foam that you'd die cut in the same way that you cut your shaker front, and this way you're absolutely sure that nothing will escape your card front. It's totally up to you. Here you can see the effect of the glitter and the sequins for the shaker, and I think it's really a lot of fun. Next, I started working on my images, and as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I'm going to use the Poinsettia Border stamp set and the Holiday Village stamp set. The Poinsettia border was new with the latest Studio Katia release, whereas the Holiday Village stamp set has been in the Studio Katia store for a while, and I felt they were a perfect match for this winter shaker card. I'm going to use some non-traditional colors to color in my poinsettias, and I tried to follow a color palette that would match with the background that I have on my shaker. Because I have this rose gold background on the sky of my scene, I used these vintage pinks to color in the poinsettias. I started with AP4 that I added at the base of the petals. I then blended it out with AP3 and then came in with AP1 to color in my highlights and blend everything together. I felt that the contrast was not as deep as I wanted it to be, so I'm going to come in with my RB4 marker. This is a red-brown marker, and I'm going to add that at the base of the petals as well, so that we get some nice dimension in our flowers. I'm not going to show you the entire coloring for all the flowers in this beautiful border image because it's the same as the one that I just showed you, and I wanted to save a little bit of time so that the video is not too long. For the leaves I used some yellow greens, starting from YG3 that I again added at the base and at the centers of the leaves. I blended that out with YG2, and then the highlight color will be YG1. Off camera, I also went in with a second layer of color using the same markers to intensify the contrast and deepen the shadows, and then I moved on and colored the berries in this image. Again, I used colors to match the palette that I have on my shaker card, so I used BGR3, BGR1, and then I blended everything out with a colorless blender, because this will match nicely with the silver that I have on the hue. Using a very similar color palette, I also colored the houses and the trees. I used BGR1 to color in the snow. For the pink accents, I used AP4, AP3 and AP1. I introduced VB2 to shade the windows a little bit, and then for the main body of the houses, I decided to use some light warm gray markers, so I used BG2 and BG4, but left most of the houses white. Once I was done coloring all the images, I die cut them with the coordinating dies, and I could go ahead and adhere them all to my shaker front. I added the poinsettia to the top right corner of my card and then created my little village behind my hue. I used some double-sided adhesive to glue everything to my acetate shaker front because I feel this is a little bit cleaner than using liquid adhesive, and then I could move on and create my sentiment. I die cut some watercolor cardstock using the banner die in the Darling Ribbon and Frames dies, so you see this shaker was created with one die set only, if you don't consider the coordinating dies obviously. I stamped my sentiment using silver ink, and the greeting comes from the Holiday Village stamp set. And then I brought in a little bit of that pink lace ink that I have on the background on my shaker by blending it over the edges of my sentiment banner. I adhered the sentiment banner to my card front using Studio Katia liquid glue, and that finished off my card. I have to say that I really love the way this turned out. The color palette and the metallic inks make it look really elegant, but the shaker bit adds a very fun touch to it. And that's it for today. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope I inspired you to create your own shaker cards using the Holiday Village and Poinsettia border stamp sets. Don't forget to subscribe for more card making and paper crafting inspiration. Thank you all so much for stopping by, and have a great day.